Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. Real talk for the real world. Let's get it. Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. Real talk for the real world. Let's get it.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. What's going on, my peeps? Welcome to another edition of Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. We appreciate you guys joining in today. We thank you guys that are tuning in with us live today. Please drop in the comments where you're tuning in from. It is this marvelous Thursday, pre-Friday, and we're coming up on a long weekend for all of my people that are joining us in the States. We got Memorial Day coming up on Monday, so we're looking forward to this long weekend. Also, the first holiday of their summer season, though it's not really summertime. So we got to make sure that we get out there and get in it and enjoy ourselves. Right. For those who tuning in on the replay, drop in the replay where you tuning in from. Also, tell us what you got going on this weekend. Also, drop in the comments where you're tuning in from, your perspective, your thoughts, your questions, because we're talking about something today that everyone can be involved in. It is just one of those kind of days for me today. So this is how we're going to roll. You all know I don't do this by myself. I got my wonderful hostess with the mostest who is just filling me in with some tremendous information in the private chat. And I appreciate you guys so much. But hold up. Let's bring in. What's up, Charlene?
Hey y'all. Can y'all hear me? Please let me know you can hear me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm chiming in over here from a PC, so I'm still trying to set her up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was reading reading the comments as they was flowing in. We thank you, Caitlin tuning in from Minnesota. All right, Midwest. Nicole from Kentucky, love the bluegrass state. I was there. 85, Fort Knox, Kentucky, beautiful place. Kentucky is a beautiful place. India, we global. We told y'all we global. Thank you, Kamal, for tuning in from India. Also, we got Mike tuning in from Kentucky as well. Mike, I'm gonna have to get out there, Kentucky, man. Maybe we go do some horse riding as well there. I always love the horses. Randy tuning in. We thank you guys this morning. What's going on with you today? Because I got drama today. I was just looking at my name, and I'm AJA, Mr. Vulnerability. I'm the quick typing. You know what I mean? That's I'm Aja, Mr. Vulnerability.
How you going through so much already?
It's
How's
like
that working
30.
out?
That's like that. I think I was gonna say I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, but I can only wake up on one side. My side is on the side by the window, and that's the only way I could get up is just looking out the beautiful window. But it is what it is. I got Friday mixed up. I think I got this long weekend on the mind. Just looking
Mm-hmm.
forward to it, looking forward to enjoying it. I'm gonna hit Ocean City, New Jersey this weekend. Stick my toes in the water because it's probably gonna be cold. It's always cold on Memorial Day weekend. But we'll
That
see.
is true. That
Yeah.
is
They
true.
say it's supposed to be in the upper 80s and just cloudy, no rain, just cloudy. So I see because they tell me that every Memorial Day and it be cold and rainy. Last Memorial
It's a
Day,
tri-state, and
I
you
had
in
a,
Jersey.
yeah, I
Jersey
had
is
a
a
sweater
different
on.
animal.
Yeah, I had a sweater on last Memorial Day weekend. I went and looked at the pictures. I was like, yo, I had a sweater on. What's going on with that?
Oh
But
my
what's up with you
goodness.
though? What's going on with you?
Well, for those who saw the show on what Monday, yeah, no Tuesday, my Mac memory died, so it
Oh
wouldn't
man.
even log me back in. So I am setting up a PC like as I'm doing the show, I'm setting up the settings. It's weird out here, back here in these
In
computer
these in
streets.
these computer streets. It is weird. Yeah, so we was doing the show on Tuesday for you guys who didn't show up or who wasn't here on Tuesday. If you go back and watch that hashtag replay, definitely go back and watch that because I do go back and engage with those who tune in. But we had a drop off. We was just having this flat conversation, and Next thing you know,
Man.
Charlene froze, and the next thing you know, it's like blackout, right? So I was just on a solo mission for quite a while. We had
And held it down, sir.
yeah, somebody look. I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm gonna share this with all the 800 million people that's watching. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody on LinkedIn watching us this morning. Yo, Mama was watching. Yeah, Mama, I'm gonna tell on you, Mama, right here on the TV. Mama was watching, and I was throwing down so hard. You know how you talk and you get the dry mouth. Man, Mama said, "Boy, wipe your mouth. You got the little white corners right there. Wipe your mouth." She said, "Hey, baby, get a bottle of water." So that lets you know people always tuning in. People always chiming in. Mom, we thank you. We appreciate you for tuning in, checking in on us. So you know what I mean. That's what's going on. That's what's going on.
Yeah, so I'll definitely say it's been a learning experience because right now I'm wired in to the PC because it was not it was giving me a weird message even though it connected to my Wi-Fi. That's
Yeah.
why me and PC can't get down like that. But but yes, I can't wait especially to have our amazing guest today. And please forgive the background. I didn't even notice. I have to update that because our topic is not about natural born leading. It's about
Oh,
it's
what's
about
going on?
branding. Look, I already told you I had a lot going on. Okay. Okay. I don't hear no lip service. I'll get it. I'll get it
Yo,
together.
yo,
I'll
yo,
get it
yo.
together.
We see that's what happens. See, let's see what happened when you get to. But this is what it is though. So we're talking today. If you guys didn't know, you guys probably already have saw the flyer, and we got a wonderful guest on today. Phenomenal. She has been a true friend, has shown herself friendly, and definitely she blowing it up. And I
Come on
love
now.
all the advice she give. And we're talking about branding today. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about branding, and though I know we all natural born leaders, we talking about branding today and branding strategies and what you can do. Not only that, kind of walk us through some of that branding individualized, branding how you can
Hmm.
branding yourself within the company that you're in working for, even
Right.
if that's not your particular company, and also how you can brand yourself strategically your own self with your own company to make you stand out. And it's a lot of things that our next guest has shared with me as well that I'm implementing on my sites and with my branding strategies as well. But you know, we're gonna let y'all hear from her. So, without any further ado, what's up? Come on and join us on the
Come on,
set.
Shell.
Come on,
Yes.
Shell Station.
Thank,
What's going
thank
on?
you, thank you. So great to be back here with both of you.
Yeah,
Uh, as you know, this is round two for me up in
Yes.
here. Real talk, and I am also going through it today. So I feel like there's just something in the air for all
it's
of
in the
us, and
air. It's
and
in the
that's
air.
okay. We're gonna do the damn thing.
Yes.
Um, Hopefully it's okay that I said that, but
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It
I gotta
is.
be my
Yeah,
real
yeah,
authentic self. So
yeah. We will,
sometimes
we
words
will.
are gonna come on through.
Yeah, the
Uh,
FCC ain't gonna holler at us too much. They ain't gonna holler at us.
yeah. I'm excited to talk more about branding with you guys. Let's
Yes.
get right into it.
Let's go.
Yes,
Let's go. So,
ma'am.
Shell, kind of tell them what I was giving a little segue into it, but kind of tell them a little bit about you and this Shell station. I know you and I have talked quite a bit, and we you kind of went on with the Shell station, but I just love the concept of how you came up with it and those kind of things. Share with us about the Shell station. Share with us about your some of the tremendous things that you do on your side.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're new to seeing me here, I'm Shell, founder of Shell Station. My full name is Michelle, and for branding purposes, and because I am a Shell through and through, I've dropped the MI portion of my name, and that now represents me as my branding, Shell. And a Shell Station, what that is for me. Um, so the main symbol is a lighthouse because I want to be a beacon, right? I'm drawn to the water. A lot of water metaphors will probably come your way today. I'm also an Aquarius, which is not a water sign, but like Aquarius and Aqua kind of makes me think of the water too. So it's all tied together. But Shell Station represents a beacon, and a beacon that can help guide people and help them find their way and help them use their voice. So that's what Shell Station is all about. And the way that personal branding ties into that is because I want everyone to be their authentic self. And I want you to stand out in a way that's uniquely you. And so when we are personal personal branding you. We are coming up with your core values, your mission, you're diving into what your passions are, what you want to do more of. It's not just about brand colors, although that's all very nice because I do have a design background. It's not about fonts or logos or even the symbols. You have to know about your mission and why you're doing what you do in order to create the brand around it and everything that goes into that. Charlene, you and I have talked about that, like, and then some, about like how it's not just like the pretty little details that come together to form your brand. It's all about the things that go into it behind the scenes. So yeah, it, we can go down this whole rabbit hole. Should I keep going? Like,
Keep
And
going.
that's why we had to do a part two, because the first show, and
yeah,
if you guys have not seen that, please check out that first show. We
Yeah.
just went all in.
Yes.
And we had
Yes.
a tiny moment of having mini rants, but that was okay. Because it was like the whole concept of branding has been, I want to say, taken over by misconceptions, things that are not the way branding should be thought of. Or,
Mhm.
and it's not in a bad way, it's just people aren't sure, people aren't clear. So just to have that conversation and go through the mishaps and the misunderstandings in the first show, that's why we needed this second one, because now, how do you be a unique you? And what kind of strategies do you need to really get into? And that's why Shell is perfect. If you guys have not connected with her yet, make sure you connect with Shell. Make sure that you are seeing and watching what she does, because she is amazing at breaking down a lot of the
thank you.
brand concept, so you know better. I know branding, but like I said to folks, and I say this a lot with my clients, I can create your brand, but I rather focus on the actual website, and then allow a brand strategist to come in and really knock it out for you. So that's really what all of that is about. And that's why Shell is here today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because Shell
yeah.
puts it in
There's
perspective. She
Yeah.
put it in perspective. Shell kind of like break that brand down, right? Because I'll just say from a person who don't have that background and don't know anything about marketing. I mean, of course, all of us are aware of it because everybody's doing it. I mean, if you wasn't doing it on the entrepreneurial, solopreneur level, you saw it in companies, whether you shopped at websites, you visited. So marketing, everyone knows what that is, right? But everyone does not know what that entail. And in branding, I really found, cause I thought branding, I'll just be honest with you, and I'm sure somebody else gonna jump on board with this if you want to be honest with you, because it's real talk. I thought branding was like make sure your colors is fit and like make sure you have pretty pictures. Like that was my thing of branding. Because I went on websites, the Macy's, I'm staying on there all the time. I like that they little brandings, they little symbols. I thought it was cute, and I was like, oh, so that's anybody see that, this is how I kind of identify brand. Oh, if anybody see that, I know that's Macy's or Amazon with the big logo on the trucks on the side with the little half smile. I said, oh, okay. So to me, branding was always kind of like that particular symbol that they got and those colors, and that kind of identified them. But tell me how wrong I was thinking that that's all branding was.
I'm not going to say that you were wrong.
Okay.
You just didn't know what you didn't know.
Yes. I like that. I
And
like that.
now that you are aware of it, you can kind of like dive in and
Mhm.
assess all the things that are going on behind the scenes of that brand
Yes.
element and that logo, the colors, the elements that went into building it, the particular fonts that a brand uses. Like once you know that it's there, you can't unsee it. Let's use like fast food as a really good example because it's easy for people to identify. A lot of fast food is red and yellow.
Yeah.
That's intentional. And it's not because everybody like Burger King or Wendy's or any of the other food chains are like, oh, well, McDonald's is over here and they're doing their thing with the red and yellow. So I'm going to do the same thing and copy them. It's not even about that. It's because if you go into the color psychology of what those colors represent, red and yellow, especially when used together, they make you hungry. They make you want to get in and out. They have a psychological effect on the actions that you're going to take. And so there's so much more behind the color red or the specific yellow or gold. And we could do this all day with any color in the spectrum. But every color has a slight meaning, something behind it, several meanings, in fact. And it's that brand association that people are going to not only start to remember and recognize for the symbol, but also for how it makes them feel. So once you can identify what the logo represents, and maybe that company does a really good job of spelling out for you in their tagline, what their mission statement is, what they're all about, what their values are, and the things that they're working on behind the scenes to bring you. There's so many different pieces that come together to form your brand. All right back down to what you're here, how you show up, and how you represent yourself. Branding comes later, like the actual logo and the design, that comes later. You have to start showing up first. Can't do anything else if you don't have a voice yet.
Yeah, man, that is so
Yes.
on point. And I guess that kind of leads because Caitlin got a great question, but I want to tap on that before we go to Caitlin's question. Uh that is so because when I came on, and I think a lot of us really came rushing through the pandemic with the online presence, right? Maybe it was a few of us that might have been doing this before 2019, but I can just about say with assurance the bulk of what you see now online started with that pandemic rush and people getting on and people doing that. And it's amazing to me how people were doing so many things. And I never heard the importance of the voice first. I always heard like, it's just like people used to say, you do stuff backwards, right? You got the cart before the horse. And all of I was hearing was logo, website, colors, all of that. And I had never heard that. I didn't start mine like that because I started talking about what I was about before. And then I did it that way. That made sense to me. But how is that confusing? And how does people get that confusion with that? That you just come out with all of this first, then you build on top of that. And I think it should be reversed. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because you have to have that voice first. What you're talking about, what's your subject, what's going on, and then you can kind of marry those colors and pictures and photos and all the other part of that that makes it pretty. You can kind of do that later because I'm sure McDonald's will say, okay, let's put this red and yellow together, and then it's like, oh, what are we gonna sell? You know, what I mean? What I'm gonna sell. So I'm sure that, and a lot of people have that thinking of that, and then a lot of people are getting the misinformation of that when they're said that and they're told that these business coaches and these marketers and these I'm not hitting on Fiverr, but the Fiverr people, the logo people, the
Mhm.
design people, they want to holler at you about get all of this, get all of this, get all this. So you don't even have a message. Then you have a lot of people like myself starting, then next thing you know, you didn't change 3 or 4 or 5 times within the course of the time because you really never had that from the beginning. But I was glad
Yeah.
you put that out there, Shell. You're always giving us the goodies. Caitlin
Yes.
got a good
Yes.
question there. Pop Caitlin's question up on there.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Caitlin just got a real basic question to say. She's not an entrepreneur, but she keep hearing working professionals need to establish a brand for themselves. Yes, I've heard that a lot too. I'm assuming I don't need a logo, but what other things can I work on for my personal brand? Awesome question, Caitlin.
Yes.
That is a really great question. And no, you don't need a logo. If you want to have a logo, great. That's again not the thing that should come first. But when we talk about your personal brand and other things that can go into it, let's go back to your voice. Let's go back to the things that are important to you and how you want to show up. So whether you are an entrepreneur or you are still working a 9 to 5 for somebody else, you can still develop your personal brand. And the way that I would go about this is think about who you are. What do you want to be known for? I talk about this with clients all the time when it comes to revamping and refreshing their LinkedIn profiles. How do you want to show up? What do you want people to know about you? Start first with developing, some people refer to them as content pillars. I call them anchors because, again, I'm going to tie all this back to the water and boats and like relation to Shell Station. What are the things that keep you rooted and grounded? What do you want people to know about you? And when you're thinking about these core things, you're probably going to have at least 3 or 4 things that come up consistently. Whether that's for Carl, you're talking about vulnerability. That's a core pillar. That's a core anchor. That's something that he is rooted in. Um, when it comes to like the content that Carl puts out, he's going to be consistent in the messaging because it's natural for him. It's who he is. It's how he shows up. And I would argue that for anybody, the way that you show up, no matter what you're doing and how you do it, there's always going to be a common thread behind what you do and how you do it. So find that common thread, and that's the core of your brand. The rest will come together from there. So whether you have one anchor, two anchors, three anchors, four, maybe you have even more than that. Maybe there's a bunch of things that you're passionate about and that are really important to you. For me, my anchors are simple. Burnout prevention. I've gone through it. I don't want anybody else to. So that's why I'm a beacon, because I want to give people the voice and the power to speak up. I want to empower you. I want to talk about all things that are conversations for change and separating yourself. That's what Operation Separation is all about. I want to get you to like take action on the things that you want to make changes on. And everything else that falls under that, it's all related. How we do that, that's the strategy behind it. That's my common thread on tying everything together. Your branding is part of that. Of course, again, I have a creative design background. So all of the things work together to play a role in the way that you develop your personal brand. Honestly, my colors have been evolving over the last 3 years that I've been an entrepreneur and been in business, and they might change as I evolve and change too. So I'm not necessarily tied to the colors or the fonts or the logo so much. I'm open to that changing as long as I'm staying true to who I am. That's all I can do for my personal brand. That's the best thing I can do. So hopefully that answers your question, Caitlin.
I
Yeah.
love that response because I feel the similarities with that, because it took me a while to figure out what would my personal brand be, and how can it connect to the business, because I didn't want them to be vastly different, and I didn't want to manage too many different assets. So like you said, I had to figure out the core and what that looked like for me and my clients, and then that like everything once you figure that out, I think everything else falls into play, and it makes it easier because like how we have with Randy, she said it's fun discovering and finding the brand logo and design. And I have to push back a little bit on that. It's fun when you understand what you're trying to go for.
Yes,
A lot
indeed.
of times I see clients struggle. That becomes their nightmare because they're focused on the wrong things. They're focusing on colors. They're not sure what kind of fonts they want. And it's like that. Don't focus on that. Focus on the vibes and the feel that you want people to have and leave by the time they're done working with you, by the time they decide if they want to work with you. Focus on the vibe that you want to leave them, and everything else will start to fall into place.
Yeah, it does.
Oh,
And you said something, Shell. Man, I was thinking about that, and also Mike giving you them flowers. Yes, because she makes sure she explains it to you that because I could get analytical with a lot of things, and she just says, "No, Carl, it's just really this." So she's amazing at just telling you that and vibing it down to you and getting that process out. And I agree so much. It was a nightmare, and even in the evolution that I've taken in just the 2 years that I've been in LLC, it's like from where I began, I wouldn't look back some of my old stuff in my notebook. I was like, that don't even look like the same Carl. Like not like you said, the pillars was there, and I'm still talking about the same thing. But even all the structural ideas I had, even all the logo drawings and stick things I was doing, it's like it's nothing like that now. Even in my mind and the elevation, and I do love the journey, and the journey is good if you know like, and I would say this as a fact, and I just not just because you're on, but I would just give this as an advice as well. When you have a lot of that mumble jumble in your head, and I'll call it that respectfully, you'll have a lot of that in your head as the creator or as the one that wants to do this work that you're trying to do. I think it's always good to have someone where you can throw that off on. I throw a lot of stuff off on Charlene. I've thrown stuff off of Shell as well. I think you need someone to see it from another perspective because I write a lot and I write thinking out of my head. But is what I'm thinking out of my head something that someone will receive? that knows nothing about me. Like I think that you, even in you doing your strategies, whether it be branding or even just along the lines of where you're moving to, I think you need to find a confidant where you can find that person to, and it's not always somebody you're gonna hire to do it. It could be someone in your circle, it could be someone you trust with sharing things with, and they can give you a real talk and say, yo, that's you, but that's you because I know you. You got to flip that to someone else who just might pop up your website. You know what I mean? They didn't know you, they just stopped there. So those are some of the other things I think that Shell is so great as well, making it the unique you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Carl. And oh my God, Mike, that is like the best compliment that I've had in the longest time. Like that just made my morning, probably my week actually, because I've been going through it over here. So thank you for showing up. And I want to also add that, like, okay, colors and the fonts and the logo, the things that look nice. If that's where you want to start, okay, is it the best place to start? Maybe not. But if that's where you're at, start with where you're at. Start with what you have. I would argue for you to go back to, maybe you don't have your pillars fully like vetted and thought out. But think about how you describe yourself. Okay, I work with a lot of job seekers, and again, the LinkedIn profile refresh and stuff. And so I ask this question a lot, but it's true across the board. How would you describe yourself to somebody else from the outside who doesn't know you? And also, what words would your peers, your colleagues, your mentors, people in your network, in your circle, what words would they use to describe you? And if you want to talk about colors and the look and the feel and the vibe, what are those words? What is the psychology behind them? What colors can we pair with that? You can start building your colors and the visual aspects of your brand that way too. So if you want to start with the logo and look and the colors and the feel, at least start with identifying the language around that and how you want people to feel when they are presented with you. For me, it's the blue, the aqua. I have, yeah, the cobalt blue, the aqua green, black, and this really, really hint of light gray. Okay, the blue is across the board. It's peace, it's tranquility, it's calmness, it's trust, it's loyalty, and a whole bunch of other things. But every single one of those words represents me, and I want it to be a slightly brighter cobalt blue, like what I'm wearing, because I want to have that little bit of that vibrancy too. The aqua has gone through a few stages of transition in my branding. The aqua like represents vitality and life, and it's also an energetic color that makes people want to take action. It's flowing, and so there's reasons behind the way that I use the colors. So if you want to start with where you're at, start with what's coming up for you, and take the basics of what you want to represent and how you want people to feel and build on that. You can easily do a Google search to figure out what the colors mean, but start with the words to identify it first.
Yeah, that's really the key. And you give us so much information on that, even for you to start out, even if it's something that you haven't identified yet. The positiveness of where you can go about that, because when you start in these kind of things, they can be scary, especially when you have so many people that claim to be so professional and so knowledgeable, right? And you can get down a rabbit hole, such as using Google to look up things. You can get down that point in place, and it could get to be discouraging. It could really take you away from the reason you really started to do what you're doing. So, in essence of that, start where you're at. That's a very good place, because no one knows the starting point better than you, and no one knows what you're trying to do better than you. So if you get the confidence in what you're trying to do, what you're trying to pull out, what you want others to know, what you want to share, because everything is not so much about a product and a service. It could be just you want to lend your voice. You want to be the blogger that just have a message that you want to send. So when we're thinking about this brand, it's not necessarily that you're offering a coaching service, or you're building websites or something. You just want to have a voice and say, this is how I think about things, and just go down and incorporate that in who you are. And I think that's about the best way that you can really start your branding, because branding is you. I know a lot of people say, you want to separate the business from the individual. I got my own thoughts on that, and whether it's right or wrong, I've yet to see yet, because it hasn't revealed itself to me. But I don't think that you can get away from brand. That's almost like me saying that I like you, family. I love you, but I don't like you. Like to me, that's kind of like doesn't make sense, right? I may not like some of the things you do, but I gotta like you because I love you. I said it, right? So I think that's the same thing in my branding. My branding has to represent who I am. And though I may have it on the business side, it may be a different name, it still should represent who you are. And I think once you find that out, I think you're on your way to something great there.
Yeah,
So,
I think a lot of times what's going on too,
mhm,
personal branding and business branding, they came about for reasons. Because the
mhm,
bigger you get, a lot of times you don't want to add, you don't want to name a company after you. And
mhm.
an example is Kate Spade. Once
Yeah.
she sold that, if I'm not mistaken, she couldn't use her name to do what she wanted to anymore. It was a business now. So
Mhm,
you have to be really careful. That's why people are have that debate, and a lot of times the debate is misconstrued or taken differently. People really have that debate because they want you to think, if you're going to use your name and brand it, are you going to now be okay with losing the rights to use your name for anything else? So you have that's where the difference is between personal and business brand. And yes, as a business, you want to fuse yourself in what you're doing because it's part of you. But you also want to step back far enough that if you had to sell the business, can you move on and can you create something else but bring your personality along? Because once you sell a entity, what
mhm.
other people do with that is no longer up to you.
Yeah.
Now they are infusing themselves in that entity. So that's where the conversations are being had. And I want to make sure that because we're speaking about yourself, you understand why we do have those distinctions.
Yeah. Awesome. 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 And that's definitely true. And Kate Spade was definitely a prime example for you to go back and read. And even though I think she committed suicide, if I'm not mistaken,
Hmm.
at that point in time, I think her brother David Spade, the comedian actor, they was tied up in a lot of legal rambling because of that simpleness and having your name on something. And it's even something that I've thought about because everything it's under my name. And in the instance of it, once you want it to be on a corporate level, I'm thinking that same way. How do I pull out of this and those strategies? And a lot of those are strategies that you don't really think about because when you're an entrepreneur and you're starting your own thing, if you don't know how the game works or and I'm just saying game figuratively, if you don't know how it works, you know what I mean? You want the proudness of your name on things. Like, you didn't came out from up under somebody. So you got this kind of like, how kids do when they get 18, they want to come out, they want to move out the house. So you get that kind of spirit like, oh yeah, this is my Carl Shawn Watkins this or Chelle Shapiro this, and this is what it is. So but you do
Hmm.
have to be careful about those and you learn those things. And it's never too late to change and transition in those
Right.
things as well. Even though I've gotten where I've gotten, I've been talking to some people. What can I come out with this where it still be my name, but it don't be my name? And those are some of the points that you have to look at as well when you're doing these branding strategies because it's way more than the color purple. Hey, that's a movie. Kind of.
It's a good book as well.
Yes, yes, yes. I,
Yes.
I I got the clip notes. I didn't read the book. I got the clip notes. But Shell, tell us what are some of the good things. And with Caden's question, and she talked about the personal branding piece of that. What are some of the things that I guess like the 1, 2, 3 steps that someone can say, yo, I'm working for this company. I don't necessarily want to have an entrepreneur, but how do I get out from up under them and start to create some of my own and do some of my own? Or maybe I'm in this company. I like what I'm doing here, but I don't too much care for them. So maybe I want to start branching out and start working with some people individually. What are some of the steps we could take to kind of like brand ourselves, branding for dummies, so to speak?
Yeah, branding for dummies. That should be my next guide, right?
Yeah, you do so well in there. I'm saying it's like dummies, and of course I'm not calling anybody dummies. Sometimes you got to put these disclaimers in there because I don't want nobody to say that. But the dummies series was just that, not necessarily for dummies, but it was just so simplistic for you to follow and learn and educate yourself in those industries. So that's why they came up with the dummy series. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, branding for those who don't know uh, yet. Um, so whether if you're trying to leave a company and start your own thing because you're not vibing with what they're all about anymore, um, this goes back again to like job searching, and whether you're an entrepreneur or a consultant, or like looking for a full-time thing. Think about the companies that you've worked for in the past. Think about the companies that you may work with, whether you're working for them or collaborating or just consulting for them in the future. Like, what are the things that you are looking for when it comes to working with others? Company, individual, you name it. Think about those things that you're looking for. Whether maybe that's something with their corporate culture, maybe that's something with what they represent or who they help. Who are they supporting? And then think about, what are you doing in relation to that? Where do you come in? So what you're looking for, like what you want to do more of, and the things that you're already doing to put yourself there. That's 1 and 2. Now, how are you going to show up to do that? How do we take that action and marry those two things together? Whether you're doing that on your own or by way of somebody else's company underneath them. You can then take those attributes that you want to do more of, that you want to show up as, and harness that and show up in those ways over and over and over again, and do it consistently. And like any other brand that has grown to however big they've gotten, you need that recognition, you need that repetitiveness, you need that consistency to build that like, know, and trust. If people don't know what you're doing, if they can't see you doing it, if they don't know you exist, they've never heard of you, you're not going to get anywhere. So you have to show up. You can't, this is not a silent operation. Yes, you can separate yourself in silence. You can move in silence until you gotten your footing a little bit. But building a brand is something that requires a voice in some capacity, because otherwise people will never know who you are. They'll never know what you stand for. And that's a key factor in branding yourself or branding a company.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely a factor that also lends back to the point of your voice from the beginning should be the identifier. Establish that pillar, and I don't think the pillar is that hard to establish. I think a lot of times we can oftentimes bite off more than we could chew, right? Because when I first started mine, I was doing 6 or 7 things in corporate, so I want to bring all those 6 or 7 things to my entrepreneurship journey. And it's like you start spreading yourself thin, and then the pillar becomes a little convoluted because you don't know what structure you really want to stand on and then build from. And that's not always clear because we tend to start our businesses based upon what we're good at or what we think we're good at. And a lot of times what we think we're good at is not really the greatest place to start, because we're still evolving in what we're good at. And these are all educational pieces. And I'm talking from experience because I learned, it's one thing to do workshops, training, speaking for a corporation that has 10,000 employees, and you can go down to HR and get all the packets and the video clips and all of those kind of things and just shoot out to the training, right? It's another thing when I had to do my first very own, when I had to make my packets, I had to go to the print place and get stuff printed. And, so it's a whole different vibe when you're doing those kind of things. And I was like, oh, wow, this is more. Maybe I shouldn't be saying I'm going to do all of these things, because now you start to bite off more than what you can chew. And you're just like, you're going to just funnel it down. How important is that when you're doing those pillars, Chelle, to kind of get that one stabilizing piece and kind of build your foundation from there, even with the branding strategies?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say it like this. You said you were doing all the things in corporate and you wanted to bring all of those things in the beginning to your own brand and do all the things that you were doing. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to be a multi-hyphenate, multi-passionate individual, high functioning, getting all the things done all the time, and you can be great at all of those things. Focus on not just the things that you're good at. What do you actually like doing? Did you like doing all of those things in corporate? Did you need to be doing all of those things in your own brand? I would venture a guess that I would bet on it, but I would venture a guess that the answer is no.
Yes.
And I can speak from personal experience. I was wearing all the hats. In my previous job, I was doing all the things, wearing all the hats, being all the things to everyone, doing all the jobs. And you know what? You're probably all familiar with personality tests and assessments, strengths assessments. the Gallup, Myers-Briggs, all those things. Like, I am always pretty split between executing and relationship building. Yes, I know in the Gallup assessment, like, there's only 5 categories. So how can I be split when there's like got to be 3 and 2? But I was showing up in all the executing ways. And because I was silent and didn't have a voice for such a long time, I wasn't showing up in the relationship building ways. I was, but I was doing that part in silence. Nobody knew that that's who I was. That's who I wanted to be. And so even though I was really great at executing, I didn't like doing those things. I was resentful for it. The more I was asked to do more and more of those tasks, I was great at it, didn't want to do it. Hated when people asked me to do more. Take this off my plate. And I'm like, no, let's leave that behind. So am I good at those things? Absolutely. Do I want to do them? Do I want people to know me for those things? Hell no. So now I've shed that. I focus on the relationship branding. So focus on the things that you want to do more of. Focus on the things that light you up, because that's where you're going to shine. That's where people are going to gravitate toward you and want to get to know more about you. They're going to want to work with you. They're going to see your energy, because if you're doing the things that you're good at, but you hate, people are going to see that negativity. Even if you don't think you're portraying it, your energy is lower. It's just naturally going to be lower. People are not going to vibe with you as much. So focus on the things that you actually want to do. Build your brand on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff right there. Because you definitely hit it on the head. A lot of times we're kind of forced, sort of like the cat in the corner kind of thing. We kind of forced into doing those kind of things, and then a lot of times too, I noticed as in being kind of like a perfectionist at things, I kind of took on a lot of things that it was not necessarily for me to take on, just because I didn't like how others did it. And and I was not shameful in telling people that, not in a bad way, but just so much with my input about things. And you can take off, like I said, with the more you can bite off more than you can chew, and it becomes a trust thing. And we carry that same semblance in our own entrepreneurial, solopreneur kind of journeys. We carry that, this is my baby, so I know how it should be. And that was tight for me in the beginning of coming over, because I was like, you can't talk about vulnerability like I can, and you can't, you know what I mean? You take that as a personal thing, and it's hard to let go sometimes with those hats. Like, you get your head, you can't even see your head no more because you got so many hats on. So you have to get to that point and say, okay, I got to trust some people. And will you get burnt in the process? Yes, I'm a vulnerability dude. I tell you all the time. I've got burnt a lot of times, but I'm still standing. So what it is, but what you do, you take that as a learning process, and you do that. And no, you didn't want to do all of those things. Now that you brought that to my attention, no, I didn't. I actually resented doing a lot of those things, and you cannot hide it. I'll tell you one now that can read people up and down. You can't come to me and I've had some engagements in you, and you're gonna tell me nothing's wrong. I can read it. So if I can read it, people can read it. People can feel those vibes. They can, whatever you want to title it. God showing you, the universe touching you, however you want to put it in that perspective. People can feel, they can feed off of you, and they can see when things aren't how they supposed to be, or how you're trying to convey things and they're not coming off. And people could tell that in the essence of, if you got a bad phone call, and how you was before the phone call, now how you after the phone call. So we're not hiding that with that, but these are some great tips and some great branding strategies to get you out there. I'm enjoying it. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Y'all blowing up the chat. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, there's absolutely no way to hide it if you don't like doing something. And you could try all day long. I'm not a good liar. I don't like doing it. It does not feel good for me. So I'm not going to try to hide it. But when I was at my previous job, in my previous role, doing all the things, I got known as always being angry. Like, why are you always so pissed off? Why are you first? And I'll say, I got told often that I should smile more, which never tell a woman that. I hate that. But that's not branding related, so I'm gonna leave that one there. But like, why am I always so angry? Why can't I just like be nicer and calm down and smile more? And like, even my appearance went out the door. Like the way it was a very hands-on role, so I was dirty all the time because I was under machines and doing things. But so I didn't want to ruin my clothes, so I would just wear a t-shirt and jeans. But like the way my energy was, people could see that. If people are constantly asking you why I'm in such a bad mood, why are you so angry all the time, why are you always yelling, it's because I was resentful doing all the things that I didn't want to be doing when I wanted to be over here in this space. I couldn't hide it. And you shouldn't even try.
And I think it's so hard sometimes too when you're in corporate spaces because we are thrown into situations that we don't want to be in. We're happy. We're more than happy to say we don't want to do it, but but a lot of times you also get the boot for that because now you're seen as someone who is you're difficult to work with. You're not compliant. You're not a team player. That becomes part of your brand in a company. So how can folks who are still working for those corporate 9 to 5s change that? How can they change their brand? What kind of strategy can they use to now pivot themselves into areas that they want to be in rather than stay in a funk and be in a place that they don't want to be in?
That's a very deep question. There's a lot that we could certainly unpack with that. So thank you for asking. What can people do if they're still in their role and to get back to being themselves? I in a lot of cases, I think this calls for some boundaries and structure, and maybe going to your higher ups, depending on what the relationship looks like, and asking what they can take off your plate. I would like to focus more of my attention on X, Y, and Z over here. Is there any way that we can lessen the load over here? Like, I'm happy to do it, but I don't want to be doing it all the time. And just having those open, honest, and vulnerable conversations with your higher ups, because maybe they don't even know that it's a problem. Yes, they might see your energy change and you're in a bad mood or whatever is not working. They might see you butting heads with your team or other people throughout the company, but they might not actually know where the problem is stemming from. And so just having those open conversations to clarify that might make things so much easier and take the pressure off for you. I believe that it'll take the pressure off for you if they're open to receiving that. And sometimes bosses aren't. Sometimes bosses and managers suck. Let's just be truthful. And they're very like close-minded to like, no, I just need you to do the things. Here's what I need you to do, and I need you to always be on, and blah 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 blah. And it doesn't matter what you actually want. But a good manager, a good leader is going to listen to you and hear you, and they're going to help you because they want you to thrive and continue to work for the company. They help me help you. Like, so they're going to have an open mind and they're going to want to help you make the changes so that you are happier in your job.
And you got to have those conversations. You said that, and that just flips back around to what I always continuously say. You got to have these conversations. I'm always in the relationship building business. And in that doesn't mean that the relationships will be good or they will be great. But what it is relationships, and relationships are evolving and they're ever changing. So in the essence of that, with your boss, when you start having these conversations, maybe that first day that you go and have that conversation, it may be a hard no, but he's heard it, she's heard it. So now you go back in the course of, not with the nagging, because I've worked at a lot of places where the boss was just I just didn't want to work for this dude. But I said my pattern has to be the same. So what I would do, I would go, and in certain things I would see my opportunity and say, yeah, this is probably why it's off a little bit, because that's a little bit heavy load on me and I'm doing this and that. So, if I had someone to help, there's ways in your job that you can dive in there without it being at 100. And I use that term a lot. You can't talk to people at 100. You just can't. And especially if you're at 100 with the frustration of what you're doing. So if you start putting those in, start pushing those in conversation pieces, start dropping those jabs in meetings and conferences and those kind of things, then it's of a sense of you working through it instead of you just at a frustration point. And now you just want to go in there and slam the door behind you and talk to the boss. Because you do have bosses that said, no, this is what we need. This is what you're hired for. I know it's additional, but so-and-so's out on vacation for 2 months, maternity leave, all of those things happen. But then if you've had that conversation, now they got a mind to say, okay, Yeah, because Carl told me about that, or Shell said something to me about that before. Let me see if I can kind of move Joey over here to kind of take a few things from Shell, and then maybe we could. Then you have them thinking like that instead of them looking at you saying, "Yeah, that's your job. Why are you coming here with that?" So I think those building relationships are part of building those strategies as well to kind of help you out. And you won't be because Shannon said a great thing. She said she always smiled. They never knew, but she was unhappy, and we do this a lot. We suffer in silence, and this suffer in silence. I know we think about it in the ways of abuse and those kind of things, but you can do that same thing in the job that you don't really care for. You can suffer in silence for a paycheck. You can suffer in silence to be in a relationship. There's a lot of ways that you can suffer in silence. So I think that we have to own our part of that as well as saying that, yo, we haven't talked about it. We haven't told people how we are. We haven't set boundaries. We let anybody and everybody walk over us. We accept it. We can't say no. All of these parts are strategies that will help you out in the long run.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on what Teresa mentioned. She said a lot of
Yes.
branding coaches that she talked to always asked about your why. And when they were asking about that, they wanted to know why are you here? How are you going to change the world? Even though it says saving here, she corrected it later on. But she said,
Mhm.
when people put that on you and say, how are you going to change the world through your brand? She couldn't answer that. I was in the same position with that because I'm
Mhm.
like, what? One way I started to think of it as there's less pissed off people in the world because people are frustrated. They don't know anything about tech. They're just like, you know what, bump it. Let me just randomly do things. And then now you have people who are in their businesses randomly walking through life. And that's not how we should do business. We should always launch something, launch a brand with the future in mind. And you don't know it off the bat all the time, and the future changes, right? Unless you God, you don't know what it's going to be. But the future changes, so you want to be flexible. And I think that's what we need to do when we're putting our brands together, when we're getting our strategies together. Be flexible. Sometimes people are just not flexible with it. They just have one path, and if it doesn't go that way, then they consider themselves a failure, and it's not true. Just be flexible so you can bend as the society bends, because that's what really helps us continue. Is how are people resonating with us? How are our job peers resonating with us? Can we flow together? And just like how the pandemic showed us a lot of how do we bend, how can we go with what's happening but still keep a I want to say a sense of integrity in what we do. If you can keep that in everything you do, I think you'll be fine when you're creating your brand strategy. And don't be so hard on yourself if something
Mhm.
doesn't go right. It's
Grace.
okay. Give yourself grace. It's okay.
Mhm.
That's why you build those plan B's, C's, D's, J, double J, because you want to know, like, okay, I'm okay. I can flow. I can do things, but never give up on yourself and never allow someone else to put a brand on you that is not you. That's why it's important for you to be strong and understand what your brand is, so no one else can now define you. You already defined yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Because you are you, you're your brand, and give yourself grace. I'm glad that you brought that up because it's such a necessity because we are so hard on ourselves, and I think we take it up a notch when we come from under the umbrella of what we may call safety, and the safety net is that job that you've been on 20 years. Of course, it's a safety net per se by the length of time you've been there, right? So you consider that safe, but has it been in other avenues?
Mhm.
Besides time that you spent there? Has it been a safe environment? Has it been a safe culture? Have you grown? I think a lot of people don't look at things that way. I just had a guy tell me, man, I just retired, man. I've been on my job 36 years. And I was like, how you feel? That's I didn't say congratulations. I said, how do you feel? You know what I mean? Because we hang our hat on this time spent in places and what we've given our lives to in the essence of that. We're just talking real. I said, how do you feel? You spent 36 years at this spot. Yeah, you got some accolades to say yes. No one now is spending 30 years in a place. They're going to make sure of it. So you were at this job and you had the opportunity to spend there 36 years there. I do applaud that. I applaud your patience, your fortitude. But what
Mhm.
has it done for your life? How have you grown from those years? What have those years actually stolen? So I started asking them questions. He's like, "Oh, I never thought about that. I thought I was doing something because I worked there 36 years." No, you did. I'm not taking away from that because that's an accomplishment. But you're putting all those eggs on that basket of time. But what was that time really providing for you and your family? And what was it providing for you as a person? So when you look back on those things, yeah, I had no problem hopping from job to job. I know people had this issue about, I went and worked for temp agency. I came from out of job, went from temp agency. I told when they got ready to hire me, if it wasn't a good company, I'm not staying. Send me on another temp assignment. And I didn't have any problem with that. I stayed with the temp agency 7 years, going on assignments. I did. Proud of it. Proud of it. Proud of it. Robert Half, shoot that shout out to you. I stayed on the same 7 years because I wanted to learn as much as I could, and I wanted to eventually drop it to a company that I wanted to stay with. And I didn't want to just get on the company because at the end of that position or that contract, they were ready to hire me. I didn't want that to be the case. So those are some of the things. Yo, this is real talk. We talking real today. Shell, I'm gonna do Charlene part because she been talking all day.
What?
Yo, we gotta bring you back for part three, Chell, because we go the next time we bring Chell back, Chell gonna be on the road. Because Chell, she got some big things coming out. She's going out there and hanging out where the water is. She's gonna kind of put that water next to where her branding and her lighthouse and stuff is going on. That's a little inside joke. Y'all get that later on. But Chell, tell us where we can find you at. Tell us what you got going on, and tell us what's the next thing up for the Shell station.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's a loaded question. Uh,
I
so
love
first
loaded
off,
questions. I love them. I
my
love
my DMs are always open. Please, if you are not connected with me on LinkedIn, I know Charlene has dropped the link several times now, so you can find it
yeah.
wherever you're coming in on this live stream. Please, like, I'd love to connect with you and have a conversation for change. Like, let's see what your next thing is. And let's work on that together. You can find me online at shellstation.com. I believe you also have that link in the chat. It's right there for you on the screen. It
Yes.
will redirect you to getshelled.com. That's a whole other element of my brand identity that we didn't get into today, but they are one and the same. It's the same company, same brand, all under Shell Station. So don't be afraid if you see the URL change. What's coming up for me next? I am about to start Shell Across America. That's my behind the scenes thing that I'm doing because I am leaving New York City for at least the next quarter. I keep saying semester because I work with a lot of students, but the next quarter, the next 3 months, that's as far as I can see down the road. The rest will work itself out. And I will be bouncing around the country, not for any other reason necessarily than personal reasons and just to try to figure things out for myself. But I'm excited for this change. So stay tuned for wherever I'm coming from. First and foremost, it'll be Seattle or the greater Seattle area. So yeah, lots of lighthouses and stuff. And then we'll see where we go from there. Maybe I'll end up back in New York City. Maybe I won't. Who knows? Operation Separation is coming back June 6th. I've taken a few weeks off because I just need to deal with life. And I can't show up as my best self if I'm not feeling my best self. Today was awesome. I've been able to connect and flow through the conversation, and it's been effortless and amazing. So thank you for revitalizing me during what's been a really stressful, rough week. And I'm looking forward to part 3 with you guys because we dove down into the branding today, and I'm here for it.
Yes, we broke
Yes.
down to. We thank our audience too with these magnificent questions that they always bring, and they always bring it to the table. Always bring it. We love the comments that you guys have. We love the vulnerability of you sharing your stories as well. I definitely don't want to miss that point because when you get in on these shows and you, right, all right, Mike, I got you, Mike. I got that touch, Mike. I got that touch. Red neck, black neck, blue neck. I got you, man. I
Oh
got
my God. A
I
hot mess.
got you. I got
That's my
you.
co-host, a hot
Yo,
mess.
I'm gonna bring it. No, we did real talk and we brought it real. We want to make sure this. We want to make sure there's fun for the people, but we also want it to be a service, which is providing value. You know what I mean? Value that we provide, the people that we bring on, the information that they give you. Go back and check out some of the older shows, the ones we've had. We've almost got 100 shows now. We haven't even been a year, so we're moving the needle and we're
Let's
making
celebrate
sure.
that.
Yes, we're making sure
Okay.
that people are getting the things that they need, and we're bringing on the people that's providing that, and we are thankful to the audience that shows up from all over the world. You guys show up every Tuesday and Thursday and Friday on our mini series. Y'all do show up on that as well. And y'all show us a love, and we definitely want to make sure that we appreciate that. So, but how you can do that, you go and check us out tomorrow on Incredible Vulnerability Moments. That's where I'll be shining as well as my co-host. We were talking about that, practicing that cultural vulnerability tomorrow. How you knowing that the vulnerability is there, but how do you practice it in the culture and as a culture? So we talk about that, and we're definitely going to talk about some more real talk. Go down to the website, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Definitely do that. All of the links are down there at the bottom of there. We got the YouTube channel, the LinkedIn page, and we're going to kick up that IG a little bit. We slow to get over there because we're not IG people. But we're going to kick up that IG a little bit as well because we want to
got
be
other things to focus on.
yes. We
For
got
now,
other things to focus on. But yes, I'll thank you that, and I'll leave you with the last words from my wonderful hostess with the mostest. Thank you, Chelle, for coming by as always. Always want to hear about you in Seattle. I love Seattle, never been. But I think I would really love in Seattle with the lighthouse. Come hang out on the rocks in the water. I can see myself in that. I can see that.
I'll keep you posted on it for sure.
All right.
Okay. But yes, thank you all for coming through. And I just want to.
Yes,
okay,
it's time to stand up and stretch.
All right,
Amen.
Google was telling me. Sorry about that.
Google said hello, y'all. Okay, so our final wrap ups. I want to make sure that you guys know that if you are loving Mr. Vulnerability himself, AJA, Mr. Vulnerability.
Yes, AJA, I'm putting it for you today.
You definitely touch base with him, sign up for his vulnerability toolkit, carlshawnwatkins.com/vulnerability. And he actually does 4 steps, and he walks you through a lot of that. And he gets you to really get into the conversation with him so you understand where you're coming from. And if you need help with your website, you have a struggle site on your hand, you need rescuing, hit me up. strugglesiterescue.com. I am more than happy to help you out and let you understand where you're going and how you can get there through the technology. We cannot wait to see you guys tomorrow, Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, same bat channel, same kooky people. That's us. And of course, Real Talk will be back on Tuesday. Enjoy your holiday wherever you are. If you're celebrating Memorial Day for the U.S. folks, and of course, our is connect, and we can't wait to see y'all later, y'all. Wait, hold on. Let me look for stuff. Hold on, I can't even start nothing yet. Okay, bye.
Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. Real talk for the real world. Let's get it. Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. Real talk for the real world. Let's get it.